Today's lecture will be on digital puppets. Digital puppets is a new emerging art form that brings together computer graphics and traditional puppetry techniques to create a animated two-dimensional or three-dimensional figure or computer model that is put into a virtual environment or a virtual scene, and then is rendered in real time, and then is manipulated through the use of different input devices to arrive at a digital puppet. What is digital puppetry? It is also known as real-time computer animation. In this, humans give input to give motion to a specialized 3D model or 2D model that appears in a computer graphic. Always, when dealing with digital puppetry, there is some type of motion capture technology being deployed. In fact, through the history of digital puppetry, which begins in the 1960s, to today, motion capture has always been one of the technologies that has been employed. Affiliated terms with digital puppetry: virtual puppetry, real-time computer animation, new media puppetry, digipuppets, and then in programming, interactive character control are all affiliated terms with digital puppetry. Those sister fields are virtual reality, due to the fact that the digital puppet is put into a digital scenery. Also, there is another emerging field called digital ventriloquism. The way in which it is differentiated from digital puppetry is that digital ventriloquism uses the head only, usually of a photo, with digital muscles and lip syncing to allow static photographs or images to be able to be lip synced to or given voice input. Also, traditional puppetry, because of some of the designs of the inputting devices for puppeteers, and as I've already stated, motion capture, which is very important to be able to get to the real-time aspect of digital puppetry. What is the history? Well, the prehistory, puppetry is a continuous 3,000-year-old art form. Most of the basic puppetry types are shadow puppetry, string puppetry, and marionettes. The way in which string puppetry and marionettes are differentiated from each other is that string puppetry could be a single string or multiple. Marionettes not only uses string but also like controlling devices. Digital puppetry are the pixel and the computer and the reiteration of traditional forms. So it takes a lot from the past of as far as physical object puppetry. The entire concept of non-human actor begins to take shape in the 20th century, especially with the work of the theater designer Gordon Craig and his Uber marionette. The ideal actor envisioned by the designer Gordon Craig, he or she would be an egoless super puppet, wholly at the bidding of the play's director. He insisted acting is not an art and believed that actors should represent the character's emotions by feeling as little of them as possible. He was born in the 1875 and passed away in 1966, but his concept of the Uber marionette and the way in which acting was seen as a mechanism and exploration of character by narration becomes very important to what happens later on in both computer graphics and digital animation and digital puppetry. The beginning of the age of the digital puppet. The dawn of the age was in the 1960s. Lee Harrison III animated figures using analog circuits and cathode ray tubes. Harrison rigged up a bodysuit with potentiometers and created the first working motion capture rig, animating 3D figures in real time on his CRT screen. He made several short films with this system, which he called Animac. The introduction of the first commercially viable digital puppet was Waldo C. Graphic, created by Jim Henson and Pacific Data Images in 1988. In fact, 1988 is a very important year for digital puppetry. Henson had been trying to create digital puppets as far as early as 1985, and Waldo grew out of experiments that Henson had conducted to create a computer-generated version of his main character, Kermit the Frog. One of Waldo's strengths as in a puppet design is that he could be controlled by a single puppeteer in real time and with conventional puppets. The computer image of Waldo was a mixed video feed of the camera focused on physical puppets so that all the puppeteers in the scene could perform together. Also, this puppet is also known for the way in which it could use its chameleon and shape-changing abilities to also highlight the characteristics of the character narration. The other significant breakthrough in 1988 was Mike Normal, which Brad DeGraff and his partner William Wyrum developed to show the real-time capabilities of the Silicon Graphics new workstations. Eventually, the system developed by DeGraff and Wellman to perform Mike Normal was later used to create the representation of the villain Kane in the motion picture RoboCop 2. It may be the first example of digital puppetry being used to create a character in full-length motion picture. Types of digital puppetry. There are several different types of digital puppetry and subfields. The first is Waldo puppetry. The digital puppet is controlled on screen by a puppeteer. He uses a telemetric input device connected to the computer. The XYZ axis movement of the input device causes the digital puppet to move correspondingly. A keyboard, mouse, or joystick-like device is sometimes used in place of the telemetric control. And this is standard on several of the different digital puppetry software and hardware setups that are on the market today. Motion capture puppetry, or mocap puppetry, or performance animation. An object, meaning a puppet or a human body, is used as a physical representation of a digital puppet and is then manipulated by the puppeteer. The movement of the object or the body are matched correspondingly by the digital puppet in real time. Sort of a high performance motion capture device. Also, on the low end is machinima, a production technique that used to perform digital puppetry. Machinima involves creating computer-generated imagery, CGI, using a low-end 3D engines in video games. Player acts out scenes in real time using characters and settings within the game, and the resulting footage is recorded and later edited into a finished film. There has also been several softwares that now incorporate this into their functionality, such as the Sims and Motion Picture Sim, which allows you to generate your own movies. Let's stay with the concept of the professional development of a digital puppet, which follows a direct designed workflow. This workflow is highlighted on metricnomevisual.com. or metronome.com. In it, we begin with the first basic idea that can be sketched out, and an action sketch and squiggles can be made of the overall design of the puppet. This will lead to a conceptual drawing in which a more precise physical drawing is made of the character that is being designed. Then, using Photoshop or any other type of photo manipulating device, it is given digital color and content. Step 3, the puppet building process. Now it's time for the puppet model to be created and realized in a digital environment. Usually modelers are bought in and they meticulously build the character to match the conceptual drawings. This can be quite a complex process, depending on the use of your 3D rendering environment. But after it has been completed, then we're ready to move on to the digital painting part, in which color and texture can be applied to the model. Usually this is another person that will supply the digital paint and the touch-up, and usually they will also deal with both texture and lighting effects. Usually it'll start with like a very basic model and then be finessed by using lighting and shading modelers. The next step in the process is step 5. It is called rigging. At this point, a skeletal system is designed as well as virtual muscles, and when built will allow the character to move and deform properly. At this point, a series of animation controls are put in place to allow ease of use for the new digital puppet through input from the puppeteer through input devices. The final is the rendering process. This is where the script and the storyboard are put together. Audio is then recorded and edited with the real-time input of the puppeteer using the controls. The digital puppet or digipuppet is put into motion. Usually the set and the scenery are designed by another designer. The designer that it works on the digipuppet is just wholly concerned with the character itself and not the physical and not the virtual environment of which the character is a part. And this concludes digital puppets in a nutshell. If you want to, I have made a small webography available on Delicious that goes into more detail on some of the issues, especially Wiki University's tutorial on building your own digital puppets using off-the-shelf software such as Poser. So, without further ado, this is the end of this lecture on digital puppets. Thank you.